I think we are live. I think we're going. I think we are here. Howdy, howdy, howdy. We are doing an extra, read all about it session today. We have rats in the building, trapped like rats. No, trapped like mice, rats. So howdy, howdy, howdy. Just want to say hi. We're going to do something just for fun today. We're going to choreograph some chaos. How's that sound? I think it's going to be exciting. I'm excited. Let me see your chat. Comments. There we go. Hey, Christina. Nice to see you. So, yeah, I thought I'd just add a session today. Why the heck not, right? So we're, no, it's totally fine. It's a casual session today. We're going to just jump in. I'm visiting my son, and I'm now staying, it looks like, in Montreal. So you might hear him in the background. That's all that is. And so I kind of thought it would be cool to have a handout. I was thinking, danger, about, times as they are. I'm trying to figure out how to lead into this. And it made me start thinking about times in my life where things have been chaotic, or where I'm facing something where it's like, what am I going to do here? And something just flew into after a meditation, which I love. Hey, Mickey. An idea kind of just flew into my brain, which is why we should all be meditating, because that's what happens when you meditate, is afterwards or sometimes during, like, random thoughts will come in, random ideas, and this one I ran with. And I thought, it's kind of a good reflection of what's happening right now. So if you got the email, that might be why you're here, or maybe you just saw the post. I talked about in the email about the situation that happened to me. This is many, many moons ago. Hey, Sri. Glad to see you guys showing up. It's exciting. I love doing these extra ones. They're fun. They're just like, let's get together. I think right now, community, hey, Joy, is really, really important. And so that's something that we can provide. We already provide that. So we're just double downing, triple downing, bajillion downing on the idea of community. So that's what we're doing here. And so I thought this could be a fun kind of exercise in recognizing chaos and what can you do about it and how can it be part of your world. And in this particular case, I actually kind of organized or created chaos intentionally. Yes, I did. Hey, Roblin. So for those of you who don't know, I had a lifetime as a professional dancer, dancing in civic operas, touring companies, theme parks, whatnot. Throughout that time, I also choreographed quite a bit. That's a way it's awesome. I love choreographing. It's because it's like a puzzle when you choreograph. And I love seeing it all come together. So years ago, I'm just going to kind of dive into this. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything you do else that you want to talk about. This is kind of on the heels of, we did a really great session inside of our paid group the other day on creating a routine. And that's what made me think about it. This is literally a dance routine. So I thought I would share this with you. And then we're going to kind of look into maybe sharing that session that we did. And this kind of goes with that. Originally, I was going to just tag on to that. But then I thought those people that weren't at that might be confused. And so I just thought I'm just going to left turn and do something that I think will be helpful for everybody. So years ago, I was hired to choreograph the musical Fame. Do you remember that musical? Just in case. Give me some lines from Fame. So for those of you who don't, first we have to go through an ad. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was hired to choreograph the musical Fame. Now here's the thing. And it was a big, huge production, professional production. And they had a huge cast of like 30, 40 people. And maybe 5 of them were actually professionally trained dancers. So I know, like, that's what we're getting at, the lunchroom scene, baby. So that's what I was facing, is choreographing the show Fame with no dancers, really, with a few, which actually turned out to be really important, those few. So, another ad, awesome. Need this. Skip ad, let's skip the ad, shall we? Okay, I just wanted to remind you a little bit. Hold on. Let's just go for it over here. Hold on. Probably should have done some. Here we go. So if any of you remember this, you know what? Sound familiar? So this is the number. Yeah, I'm going to learn. Hey, long time no see, right? This is so great. And it totally took me back to the whole thing, right? So this particular number, it's chaos, total chaos. Let's actually, this is the YouTube video I have playing right now. Let's share the screen, shall we? Let's have some fun today. It's gonna make me start dancing. Uh-oh. So, yeah, let's take a look. Let me know that you can see that. See what, oh, we're doing, that's not what we want. Hold on. You can hear it, you can't see it. Hang on. Highlight it then. There we go. So in this, you know, you've got a lot of chaos. So I watched the movie to help me. And then, but I don't have actual dancers, which is what makes it super cool, right? It's like, well, there's a lot of things that make it cool. So I'm going to show you what I did instead. Doesn't it take you back? I don't know. For those of you, some of you are like, I don't know what this is. I don't know who you are. I don't know what's going on. What has happened to screen readings? But this is just it's just such an iconic movie for anyone in that time period that was, you know, wanting to be in any kind of artistry. It just was so uplifting. It was so fun. And yet also had some pretty serious themes in it. And this particular number is so lovely because it's so, you know, it's just joy. Look at all that joy. It's just one of my favorite numbers in the whole thing. So what's a girl to do when you've got to choreograph something like this? Continue playing if I can. Okay, keep it under there a little bit. So I want to share, I'm going to go ahead and put the handout up for you. And then I'm going to stop sharing for a sec. I can put the handout. You wore leg warmers, chopped up t-shirts for a few years. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have some really, well, I have some dancing pictures of that time period. They're pretty spectacular, actually. Yes, absolutely. And it was, the great thing about this particular number, I think, even in the movie, is that it combines everybody. It's not just a big dance number. It's dancers, musicians, actors. It's like all of the kids together, faculty and whatever. So that's what kind of inspired me to do this. So let me give you the handout. I'm just going to give you it. So here's the handout. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to do it, is to give some joy. So I'm going to give you that, and if maybe Joy, you could pop it into the chat. So, and now I'm going to share. Okay, so that's the number that we're talking about, except I don't have any dancers that I can use, really. I have 5, basically. So here's what I want to share with you. I'm going to share my screen again. Is everybody dancing? Okay, let me turn off YouTube before we get the next Irene Cara song. Okay, hang on, let me share with you. That's not the right one. This. Okay, so can you see the handout? Yes, okay. So, hang on, let me scroll so you can see what I'm talking about. So, I mapped it out. So here's the, let me go down a little bit. Here's the challenge that I was dealing with. No dancers, playing dancers. They aren't actually dancers. They're dressed like dancers, but they're not really dancers, including Coco, the lead, the Irene character. She was not a dancer, this woman that was cast in this role. It was a really large cast. So I had that to include, and it's supposed to be everybody, right? So that was kind of the biggest challenge that I had. It also, I believe it either closes Act 1 or opens Act 2. I think it opens Act 2, definitely. And here's how I remember why. Let's get to that in a second. So, or did I even talk about that? You know, I don't think I did. So I'll get to it though. Okay, so so I started to try to, you know, strategize. At first I was like, I don't want to do this. I really did not want to do it at first. I thought this job is not worth it. They're not paying me enough. And then I thought, no, let's turn this around. Even back then, let's turn it around and let's figure out what can we do about this. So what I did was I created choreography that only had 32 counts. So dancers can only count to 8 over and over and over again. So rather than trying to create all this choreography, they only had to learn 4 sets of 8, a very simple choreography that was very level-based, like reaching up, reaching down. Things were very visual, but only 8 counts. And then they just repeated those same 8 counts, those same 4 counts of 8 over and over and over and over again. And in a lot of worlds, that might seem like, how can that be? So I got them all together. I taught them all, everybody, those 32 counts. Some people got it right away. Some people really struggled with it. But that's the only thing that they had to know and practice. And so then what I did was I used a round robin style of choreography where they did those same 32 counts, but not all together. They all did them separately. So then what I did is I broke them into tracks. So I put them into tracks so that they could each have their 32 counts happened in different places. So they might walk for a little while, then they do their 32 counts. They might walk for a long time, then do their 32 counts. So it was like they didn't, and sometimes they would walk and then do 32 counts, then walk and then do. So you see what I'm saying? Like they didn't have to know all that much. So then I added in, thought about the perspective of who was going to be coming to see this. It's a show about teenagers, a lot of teenagers involved. So I added a teenage perspective that I'll get to. Well, no, I'll just go ahead. So the teenage perspective of bringing in boys, doing some stuff with boys, because people love it when teenage boys dance. It's like just people love that in general. And then making fun of faculty. So those are the kind of things that will make people laugh, that will bring the joy, that will, you get the faculty in there being the humor, they're the comic relief, and you get the boys in there that, can do things. I brought in trays because doing rhythm things is much easier than dancing. So I brought in trays and I taught them a few rhythms where they could slam the trays together, that kind of stuff. Then I color coordinated everybody so they all knew their tracks, and that's what the map is. And then, so I split the tracks up. So here's what you have. So if you look, here's the tracks, right? So this stands for a lead, a boy, and the rest is chorus. A lead, a boy. So a lead character is in every track and a boy is in every track. That's how many boys I had. So, and then I also pulled out the people that can dance, which are the leads, and then Coco, which I'll explain in a moment how I handled that. And then the faculty, people that were faculty, and the boys, so that they could be, all of these people would have a solo. So that way you could have the people doing their little tracks, and then someone who actually could do gymnastics or could actually dance would have a solo and pull the focus while all this chaos is happening around them. I'll get to why this matters for you. Don't worry. It does come together. Hang in there with me. Every choreographer says what? That people can't dance? Oh, that they don't want to do it. So those were the challenges. Here's the tracks that I created. So we've got 3 tracks of dancers, and in those tracks, I have two that are, really good dancers. And then the other dancer tracks are people that are playing dancers. Some of them can dance a little bit, some of them not at all, but they're playing the dancers. Then I have the musicians. We give them instruments they can play with. That gives them something to do. And then we have actors that are carrying books, that are doing like, they're dressed a little more Harry Potter-ish or whatever. And then, well, that wasn't a thing at the time. And then we've got 2 groups of faculty members that don't dance at all, but are comic relief. And then I color coded them. So these actors are all wearing kind of shades of blue. The musicians are wearing a darker blue. The dancers are in pinks and purple, and the faculty are in green. So that you can really subconsciously, you'll group these people together. So then comes the fun part. They learn their 32 counts, right? And then we start with, I called just one group at a time. So nobody's watching, because if you watched another group learn, I didn't want to mess anybody up. So I started with Coco. And so here's her track. She starts at the piano. So for her first, and there were 8 sections of the song. Her first section, she starts singing. So she comes center stage to sing a little bit. She comes back up here. And so because she's not a dancer, I used levels with her by having her walk up onto the lunch table and just sing and walk around the lunch table. She doesn't have to, she's up high. People don't expect her to be able to dance up there. She gets up, there's a riser down here where she's on a different level. She comes down here, she engages with the faculty. The faculty is just, as you can see, faculty isn't moving here. They stay at this and react. So then she ends up center stage at the very end. Does that make sense? You're seeing what's happening here? And then the actors, here's their track. Actors are not dancers. So they just basically walk, they make a circle all the way around the table. Then we have faculty. See how they don't move either? 2, 3, 4, every section. And then finally at the end, they come down here, then they come down to the front. Now and then this faculty, as you can see, they stay where they are, and then they come here. And as you can see, like the only time we have a potential traffic jam, so if you look up here, 3 is, there's not a bunch of 3s around. The numbers 4 and 2, that means that no one's there when 4 is there. Only 2 is there when 2 is there. See how that works? So the only potential traffic jams are right here, because 7 and 8 and 7 and 8. So that means they're going to have to cross. We're going to have to figure that out once we get everybody together. So the couple few, but not very many traffic jams like that. I think there's that one. And then there was one other one that was potential. Oh, right here. Right here, 2 7s that are close together. So, but then the dancers who can dance see how they have much wider ranges, because that way they can jump and leap and do, improvise. And then we've got dancers up here that follow. We have one set that follows. They start, the pink guys, they come up and they kind of follow Coco, and then they get up on the table and they stay up on the table for almost the whole number, and then they come down at the end. And then the other dancers, they do a far bigger swoop, where they start on the table while she's crossing down over here. They start on the table, they come back down, they get off the table up here, they come down the center. And then at the very end, everybody collapsed around her. So Coco ends up center stage, and see how the 8s, see how everybody's surrounding her? This is Coco, and all the other 8s are surrounding her. They all collapse around her. Now these solos, they come down while this is happening. Lead 1, who's a faculty member, starts with Sadie, the lunch woman, that's who it's about. So it starts with Sadie. That's why she starts center stage while Coco's over here. And then we have a dancer who comes in. And then we have the faculty. They all come in for a moment. And then we have a lead from this dance team that comes in. And then we have the boys come in. And all they did was a little tray thing. And they did like a kick line, I think. And we did a kick line with the faculty, because kick lines are really easy and funny. And so the boys did like this rhythm thing, and they really got into it because they're slamming their trays on the ground. It's very, there's a lot of energy behind it. And then because Coco is not a dancer, I picked my one boy dancer who came around and danced around her. So, and did a lot of things that made her look like a dancer. And then as everybody's collapsing, that boy lifted her up to get another level. So see how this is chaos? Controlled chaos. So that's how we dealt with it. And it was we had so much fun, because we had this organized chaos, and they all learned their thing, which was fairly simple. And so we had a day where I think I had, called them in stages of first person for half an hour, second person, third person. I'm going to double check your questions. And then we spent a day putting it all together, and then we just rehearsed the hell out of it. So the middle thing, that's the solos. So is that what you mean? The thing in the middle, right? It's dizzying, but it's really very simple in one track at a time, if you break it down. Super chaotic when we got it all together. And it was a test. I was not even sure. Plotting Chaos, that's a band name. Lots of jazz hands going on. Jazz hands are awesome when you have a lot of people. So that was basically how I handled the situation. Didn't know for sure it would work. Wasn't sure. And then we just rehearsed it. And they loved it, because they had their own kind of moment, because they could all do it. And so it made it to where people were really engaged in learning it, because it wasn't that hard, but it was super strategic. So you only got a black and white printer. You have to write on there pink. Yes, that was, and when I choreographed, when I was a choreographer all the time, I used actual chess pieces and stuff to actually choreograph things, like move people around or whatever. Like I actually did it like a game. And this was one of the most difficult pieces I've ever choreographed, and one of by far the most rewarding, because it just popped into my head when I was trying to think. And then, here's their track, and it shows them, here's Coco, and here's what you do. So she has it written down, dance 1, here's where you go. And then it has solos. Sadie, you start center, and then you go to the down right tables. So for those of you who don't know stages, the back is up, and that used to be because stages used to be raked, so that people could see people, people weren't blocked. Someone standing in the front of the stage wasn't blocking someone in the back. They're slanted. So that's why it's called upstage in the back, downstage, and then it's the actors right and left. And so you'll see, I say, you go up center, which means you're going upstage to the center, downstage right. So they can see where they go. And then I have, here's your solos. We start with Sadie in the beginning, and then she goes down to the tables with the faculty, and then solos pull out of your pattern to center when it's your time. So, and then all collapse around Coco. And then, so by color coding them, by giving their own track, and then by really telling them to have as much fun as possible, so that when they are doing their crosses, they're just improvising. And they can just walk if they want. It doesn't matter. There's so much chaos. And then, you know, basically saying, and the more that they did it, they started, once we got traffic jams going, they would high five each other when they got to know their track, you know, that kind of thing. Really cool. And what happened was, I knew, you know, this could work, but it was a total showstopper. And I didn't expect. I just thought, okay, good. We've got something that works, that uses everybody. It's awesome. But what ended up happening was there was so much to look at for the audience that they just like on their feet at the end of the number. And that happened on opening night, which showstoppers are more common on opening night because people are in the opening night thing. But it got more and more and more and more. Why is somebody mad? I see a mad face. Don't be mad. It just got, what is that? It's like, well, it just got more and more and more every night because they fed off of it. The cast fed off of it. And every night a showstopper is basically the audience completely stops the show by applauding or whatever. And so it became highlighters. That's perfect. It became this like amazing thing. And the show ended up extending, the, you know, word got out, and it was just, I mean, the rest of the show was great too, but to have this show-stopping number was this, I mean, as a performer, you don't get those kind of, I think I've had maybe 3 in my life where it just completely, the audience is astounded and they just stopped everything with their response. So it was so amazing. And for, well, you can download the handout and then you'll have it. So, it's just an amazing experience for a performer to have that kind of experience on the stage. So my kind of takeaways as I walked away from that experience, which was phenomenal and super fun, were a few things, and I share them with you here in the handout. That to really simply focus, right? To have one main focus, which is Coco. It's her song, it's her story. So focusing on her, that's why she's on the upper levels all the time. Repeating what works, figuring out what works, and repeat it, which is what we did with those 32 counts over and over and over. And then combine it with more people doing the same thing that works. And use what works in terms of skill and perspective. So like, oh, I meant to put trays and like the color coded, you know, trays and faculty, things that are funny, like finding perspective and thinking about skill. So the boys who weren't dancers but could drum on things, that was a skill that they could pick up. And then using the strengths to bolster weaknesses. So you're pairing people to support each other, like having the dancer dance around Coco. Coco could sing, she's singing her heart out, and then a dancer is making her look like she's dancing, and she ends in a dancing lift that makes it seem like she's a dancer. So, and then really the biggest takeaway is how much fun they had. They were having, from the very beginning, the minute we got it on its feet and they started seeing how it fit together, they were just like, you know, it's the coolest thing ever. They were having so much fun, and that fun really came across to the orchestra, to the audience and the orchestra, actually. So as we look at this, have you been able to see me scroll? Suddenly I'm wondering, or am I not? Hold on, I'll make sure you can see me scrolling. I realized I was scrolling, I think, on the wrong one. Sorry about that. So yeah, this is the one. So here's the takeaways. Here's the solution, and here's the takeaways. So this is all in the handout that you can download. But that made me think about where we're at today and what's going on today. And it made me go, you know what? This all applies. And it all applies to a screenplay, writing your screenplay, or when you're analyzing a screenplay and you're looking for these things, you want to look for these same things. When you're a writer and you really want that main focus as a reader, sometimes screenplays are all over the place. You can organize chaos in the same kind of way, as long as there's one focus, that we know who the protagonist is, we know what's happening in your life, having something to focus on, having the screen reading stuff to focus on, having the, you know, writing your screenplay to focus on, whatever it might be, really like focusing in on that and simplifying things so that it's really, you're starting to understand what is your superpower. And if you simplify and you start to think about, like we did here, where we're like looking at people's skills, like what is the skill set that you have? And right now, if you're here right now, one of the skill sets that you have absolutely is that you're able to, in times where things are a little bit hard, come together and focus on something other than the chaos. And so by coming together and focusing on these kinds of things with each other, I thought this would be just kind of fun. And then, but also a chance to really think about your being able to be that center in this world as a creative, as a coach, as a writer. Writers, I think, reflect society a lot. And the more that we can use our skills, our secret weapon as a writer, to uplift others, especially right now, like being able to sort of, I heard Brooke Castillo say today, wash your mind and wash your hands. It's so good, wash your mind. Like being able to wash your hands and wash your mind. Try as much as you can to get some of those negative thoughts out, or whatever fear-based things that you're seeing people doing, and being that person that can step up. And we're going to end with the model today. I'm going to remind you about what the model is, because I really think it's a good tool that you can use. But really kind of figuring out, what is your superpower? So if it is that your superpower is helping people figure out their horror film, or helping people figure out what their character arc is, or helping someone improve their dialogue, or as a writer, you know that you write good horror films. Right now is the time. We have this opportunity right now. As much as there's a lot of struggle, there's also opportunity here to be able to take this time and really, double down on whatever it is you've always wanted to write, whatever it is you've always wanted to read, whatever movies you've always wanted to see. Like, now is the time. We can do all of that right now. So it's not the time to buffer too much with it's give and take. It's all balance. You want to be able to relax, and playtime is super important. But now is your chance. We kept saying, I just don't have time. And so many people, I don't have time is the number one reason that they haven't done the screen reader program, because they haven't had the time. And now's the time. We could end with this when we come out of this, which we will. When we come out of it, being able to have looked back on this as your shining moment. This is an opportunity for that. And really starting with one thing at a time, like showed in the choreography, and then slowly adding more. It doesn't mean now's the time I'm going to paint my house and I'm going to write my screenplay and I'm going to start my business. Just like always, focus on that one thing, focus on your strength. And then once you get that rolling, adding more. And then considering the perspective, like we considered the perspective of having the faculty be funny and the boys do this thing. Focusing your perspective on, who are you wanting to help? Are you wanting to be a reader for horror writers? Are you wanting to be a reader for just producers? Do you want to be a reader for writers? What is it that you want? It's time. What do you want? It's time that you can figure this out. What is it that you want? And you can pull out your individual strengths along the way, and then you can find others, like we did with the dancer and Coco, to balance your weaknesses. We're not all good at everything. So if there's part of what you want to do and there's a part of it you don't really like, this is your opportunity right now to reach out to each other, to form your own groups, to reach out, form your own track, like we did with the dancer. Who's going to be track A? Who's going to be track B? You can get your own track. You can help each other. You can go, I want you. Can you read mine? I'll read yours. Can we work on this together? Now's the time to find a writing partner. It's such a great, cool time. So I wanted to try to, emboss that into your weekend as being, something that you can just lean on and look to. And I also wanted to kind of remind you of the model. We just had a screen reader say she wants to continue with the course. She started it more than 2 years ago. Yeah, so those of you that are in here that haven't had a chance to get started, there's no time like the present. Boy, that saying means far more than it used to. But it is this is the time. So being able to take this handout, now that you know and you're able to read this map, check it out, and then think about it in your own life. How can this be? How can you create your own routine, your own show-stopping routine with this? You can. You absolutely can. So, hi, Juliana. But here you are. It doesn't matter. You're here, and you were spoken it. Yeah, you can do it. You'll pick it right back up. And so being able to, just, yay, I'm glad to see people. I don't know who that is, me too, Facebook user. So definitely if you, have been in, but you haven't started, now's the time. And we're every Thursday in the group, diving even deeper than we did today. So I'm going to continue to create as many tools and resources for you as I possibly can to help get you focused, to help get you on track, to help you breathe. Let's all take a deep breath. Kind of guide you, try to be as, it helps me too, to have this sort of responsibility to you, to step up, to be that voice and a fun, calming, choreographing the chaos, applying that strategy as much as you possibly can right now, every day. Wash your hands, wash your mind as much as you wash your hands. Anytime those, and I'm not saying don't be in denial. If you're having thoughts of fear, things are changing. Your brain is not used to not a new routine. Some people's routines are really been messed up. And so your brain is like, this does not compute. And so breathe into it. Know that you have that chaos. Listen to the dog upstairs chasing a ball. That's one of my favorite things about this apartment. You often hear the ball go across the floor and then you're, the dog chases it. So really, as much as the whiskey is helping, I think writing will help more. Taking those moments to write it out. We talked about doing thought downloads let me walk through the model really quick. You guys, are you aware of the model? You know what I'm talking about? Let me know in the chat. I'm a student at Brooke Castillo's. She teaches the model. She's been not sure what you mean by how do you get on. You mean so it doesn't say Facebook user? There's a little thing that says StreamYard.com. You click on that and you just have to give them permission to use your name. They don't do anything with it. It's just so that you can do it. Do one page at a time, not the whole assignment. That's fine. Do what you can do. Like it says, find what works. Start with one thing at a time. It's so funny. It was happened to be up right this moment, and then add more as you go. If you try to bite it all off, at once, then you'll create your own chaos as opposed to choreographing it, right? One thing at a time, then add the next, then add the next. So we have so many people whose routines have been disrupted. So the more that we can find ways to help you create routine, I think the more safer you'll feel. And that's what we really want, is we want you to feel as safe as possible and with so much routine going on. A bingo game, that's awesome too. That's awesome. So the model is, Brooke Castillo teaches this model, and her concept is that everything is a circumstance. There's no good or bad to it, even now. And it's interesting because as I explain this to you, you'll see that with this circumstance, you just look around you. People are handling it in a million different ways, which goes to show that the model really works, because the circumstance is this. And then the next thing is what you think about that circumstance. So if, we've got this chaos going on, and if you're constantly thinking, thoughts of fear and fear and fear, the next thing is feeling. If you have a thought, it's going to make you feel a certain way. You're going to have panic attacks. You're going to be having a tough time. And then the next thought is an action. And if you're feeling all these you're feeling panic, you might actually feel sick. You might take it out on your spouse, neighbor, friend, whatever. You might not be very fun to be around. And then that ends up being the result that you get, is actually more of not feeling bad. More of feeling bad. So it's circumstance, thought, which creates a feeling, which creates an action, which creates a result. That's the basic model. And so if you look around, you can easily, if someone's bothering you, you can kind of ask them, or even just listen to them, and you'll be able to see what they're thinking based on the things that they're saying. And so if they're thinking all kinds of chaotic things, that's going to be coming out of their mouth. And usually whatever's coming out of their mouth is far tempered to whatever chaos is going on in their head. We tend to filter before we speak in general, most people. Even people who say they don't have a filter, they still filter. So it's that's happening. So you can kind of see where they're at, and then perhaps, at least it will help you be able to control your own thought. And that's the key. If we in here can be leaders to controlling that thought, then we can kind of help other people be the example of that, because the more that we can kind of control our thoughts, we'll have different feelings. And then some days you're just going to wake up and it's all going to be too much and you'll have anxiety and whatever. And to not be in denial and try to push that down, but just recognize it. And I love this concept of, there are times in our life when we don't feel okay, and we're okay with that. And so can you think of times like that with, I'm looking fancy today, going somewhere. It's funny that you say. There's a story I'll tell you. This shirt I bought at the pharmacy because I'm kind of tired of the clothes I have because I was traveling and then I'm stuck. And you can imagine the selection at the pharmacy. It's pretty awesome. Something my grandmother would wear, but whatever. It's very fancy. So yeah, awesome. Take your time to edit your screenplay. Love that. You're getting it ready for coverage. But there are times in our life, like think about times in your life when you know that you're going to feel bad. So like you work out and the next day you're sore and you accept that because you know you can rationalize, oh, right, I don't feel good right now because I worked out. Or you drank too much and the next day you're hungover and you can go, oh, right, I'm hungover. And so there's times in our lives when we sort of accept that we're feeling bad. Sometimes we know we're going to feel bad when we're going to do something. We're going to go do something that's scary. We're going to go in a show or speak on stage for the first time or do a Facebook Live for the first time, and it's scary and we don't feel very good. Like we talked about this the other day, right? With courage. So courage actually stinks in the moment. It doesn't feel good until you actually do it. Then later it might feel better. But if we can establish that, yeah, there's times when it's okay, so that every time you feel bad, you're okay about it. Think about those times when you have accepted that, yeah, I'm going to feel bad. And right now, very much so. There might be days we just don't feel well because it's just too much. Recognize it. It's okay. And have it be like those other days, like you're working your muscle right now. You're working your fear muscle. You're working your courage muscle. You're working this muscle of you're going to be able to show up and handle this. And think how strong you'll be at the end when we come out the other side. How much stronger you're going to be by using this opportunity in a positive way, by getting things done, by having stuff happen that you weren't expecting. There's just so much that we can do right now. So the pharmacy clothing line. So I really think it's something to consider and something to think about. And if you aren't familiar with the model, I highly, highly recommend, recommend all the time that you listen to the Life Coach School podcast with Brooke Castillo, that if you can, you join her scholars program. But even if you can't, just listen to the podcast because she's been doing this a long time. I'm just getting started. She's such an inspiration. I'm so grateful for the people that have come before us that are setting this bar for us. And you are stepping up to it. I see it in here all the time. I see you guys stepping up to it all the time. So I'm really excited to be here with you. I can't wait to see what everybody does. As an example, Ms. Joy, I want to post that link. She's doing a meditation challenge all week next week. Love that. And Sean, I didn't see Sean. I saw Sean was leading some meditations this week. This is stepping up and this is providing value in a time when we all need it. So we are kind of getting behind that. So if you want to share that link, Joy, I will stick it up there. But definitely dive into that. That's cool. And that will be happening starting on Monday. So that's a perfect example of someone stepping up in a time when we just need to come together. And we're going to be creating even more, I want to do even more things to give you tools to help you stay balanced, have some fun. I thought the choreography thing would be kind of fun. I can, Andre. I can see you now. Can you see me now? How do you like me now? So, yay, bingo. Bingo. You win. Bingo and pharmacy shirts. That's what it's come to. Thank you, Joy. So there, therightmindcoach.com/courses. So definitely check that out. That will start happening next week. And we can do some meditations. We are so, so excited. Look at this. Just going to show you that. Yay. We're so, so excited with you. So, so, so excited. It's going to be really fun. I'm really proud of our screen reader who's stepping up and using both what she learned. I want to put your link back up. Both what she learned. Hooray! Hooray for Andre. Both using what she's learned in our courses to her own magical skill set. So awesome. So I just wanted to pop in on your weekend, give you a little bit of something. I think, no, you already named your next novel. You got some writing to do, my friend. So bingo and pharmacy shirts. I think that's good. It's good. So you guys are the best. Thank you so much for popping in today. It's so good to see you. I'm glad we had such a great turnout, and I'm glad to see so many people on YouTube. So good. So thanks for stepping in. Thanks for just inspiring us every single day. Go work that model. Go wash your hands and wash your mind. All right. We will see you, if not sooner, definitely on Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys. That was the